morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Now, today I thought we'd look at there's much, some sort of consternation over something about our girls in Italy, an unfortunate story. That is to say, you know the story by now. Reportedly rescued from a sinking boat, and then there was supposed to be some procedures. Nigeria and the Italian authorities agreed that we'd have to, work out these procedures. In fact, we have a high official in Italy at the moment, but the bottom sort of fell out, as you know, when the news came through that the girls that we were going to talk about to try and verify whether they were indeed Nigerians and all sorts of other matters, the girls have been buried, which is contrary to the agreements or understandings that we had with the Nigerian government. Now, the Special Assistant to the President on diaspora matters naturally will be very, very involved in this. And just so as to sort of get the real status of where we're at now, we called up Abike Dabiri, a Special Assistant to the President on diaspora matters. And Honorable Dabiri, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Abike. Thank you for joining us. What is the situation right now? I mean, did the Italians, trick us? What are your thoughts? Why would they have an agreement with us or an understanding with us and then go and bury all the girls that we want to investigate? What's your thoughts?
Well, that is why we raised that question yesterday with NAPTIP. As I speak with you, as I said yesterday, the DG of NAPTIP is currently in Italy. And the plan was there's some high-powered conference also going on. So she was going to stay on, continue engaging with the Italian authorities, and prepare for the burial in Salerno, Italy on the 26th. So it was shocking to just see pictures of the burial over the weekend. And of course, naturally, Nigerians took to social media and started saying there was no government representation. So after doing a thorough investigation, we wrote to the Italian embassy and also asked the questions that we have asked them. Why bury them 9 days earlier? One, as I speak with you today, we've confirmed that 3 are Nigerians. We can't confirm whether the remaining 23 are Nigerians, but whatever, they're Africans, they are young girls, and they are dead, and we need to ensure that we do the right thing for all those dead souls.
Indeed.
That were migrating irregularly. So those are actually the questions we've put, and we expect that the Italian embassy that has been talking to NAPTIP as on behalf of the federal government will answer those questions. So it was quite embarrassing to us. In fact, as of yesterday, we had 2 mothers, I think somewhere in Imo State, yelling that the last thing, at least if anything, they want to say their daughters, because, like I said, 3 have been confirmed to be Nigerians. We cannot say categorically the remaining 23 are Nigerians, but I speak with you, 3 have been confirmed to be Nigerian girls.
Indeed. 3, you've confirmed 3. Where did the whole idea come from, do you know, of 26 of them being, 26 persons being Nigerian ladies, Nigerian girls, that you'd say, look, we have definitely confirmed 3 of them. Where did that whole idea come from that any black man is a Nigerian, any black woman is a Nigerian?
Well, it's always assumed that every black person is a Nigerian. But in any case, what we did when we heard this story, it came on BBC and also from the Italian authorities. The fact is, first and foremost, 26 girls are dead. The issue to us was not whether they were even Nigerians or not. We know that Nigerians, being the largest country, normally has a high number. And we also know that for some time, these people have been dying at sea. It's just that a lot of times nobody even hears about it. You don't even hear about it.
That's right.
You only heard about it because a report happened to have been made on it. In the last few months, irregular migrants are actually drowned at sea. That is the sad thing. So the first thing was, okay, we condole with the families. Italy says they're investigating. We await the outcome of the investigation to know the next steps. So the next thing was that they've been buried, and hurriedly so. So again, we have to ask those questions. How do we now verify that actually all 26 are Nigerians if you bury them? Do you have their pictures? Do you have the DNA? Do you have their names? Or at least maybe pictures, because a lot of them go with names that are not theirs anyway. So there are many questions to be answered, and I'm hoping that we will get answers to those questions. In fact, we have to get answers to those questions. And I have to also stress something. People say people are migrating because the economy is bad. Yes, but let me tell you something. Under President Buhari has ordered that any stranded Nigerian that wants to return must be brought back. About 6,000 of those irregular migrants have been returned back to Nigeria with the support of the IOM. In Libya, there are still a lot of stranded Nigerians. They've been stranded there for years. For ages, nobody listened to them.
Indeed.
But President Buhari has instructed that they'll be brought back. And IOM will continue to support us to continue to bring them back. Even the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, they've been able to give us a plane at one point or the other where we went to them for assistance. So with the support of IOM and other relevant agencies, we'll continue to bring them back and continue to tell them that these journeys are not worth it. While we have to ensure that the laws are enforced, the traffickers are arrested and prosecuted.
Indeed, that was where I was going to go to, Abigail, that I had read something you had said that, look, you know, apart from all of this and after all of this, just reaching out to Nigerian people actually, but perhaps particularly girls, that it's not worth it. You sort of venture that personal and human impression that it's not worth it at the end of the day, and you just wish that some of our girls, no matter how desperate, could just grab onto that idea that it's not worth it.
Yes, absolutely, and that point we need to stress. Okay, and I'll tell you something. I'll tell you why it's even it's getting worse now. Number one, the boats are getting smaller, so you're likely to drown. The possibility of drowning is very, very high. Then two, some African countries have signed an MOU with the EU, which allows them that when you eventually go to Chad, Niger, Agadez, you get to Libya. Now, it's okay, you want asylum in Europe. They will take you to a country like Niger, for instance, that has signed an MOU with the EU. So that's why they will send you to, and they start applying for the so-called asylum or refugee status. So you will never ever get to Europe in the first place. So you can imagine what life will be in those countries. Somebody will beg you to ultimately come back to your country. So my appeal is that it's not worth it. Okay. And we're going to let those who have returned, courtesy of the president and the IOM, tell their stories. They are tales of woe. And we're also telling state governments that when they do come back, come and take responsibility for your citizens. Edo State last week, and in the last few weeks, what Edo does is they are at the airport, when they are profiled, they take their citizens, rehabilitate them, go through training, and you will see success stories from that. And then the next question is, you say it's always Edo State. No. The demography is not even so. It's not an Edo problem, it's a national problem. Those coming from Burkina Faso, Mali are speaking Yoruba. Those in Cairo, Saudi Arabia are from the north. Yes, Europe, Italy, more of Edo Delta. So it's a problem that we need to tackle headlong. And most importantly, we have to save some of our youth from these dangerous journeys, because we know that we can save them by awareness and by enforcement and by ensuring that the traffickers are nabbed.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much, Honorable Abike Dabiri, Special Advisor, Assistant to the President on Diaspora Matters. But do you get the sense from here that the Italian authorities are at least cooperative, that they want to explain all of this?
Well, they've been cooperating, and I know they will cooperate, because we have a very good relationship with Italy. I will continue to have that relationship. But this is an issue that even the world must tackle. The world has to get involved. And don't forget that we have stories of being sold as slaves. Again, we know they are being sold as slaves, but there's no actuality. You live to tell the story if you survive. We're hoping that we have those who survive who will tell us their story. We know that. And then the United Nations have set up a body. There was a meeting in Addis Ababa a few weeks ago. There will be another one in Mexico. And the final resolution will take place in July in New York, where all member states and international bodies will come together on something binding on the issue of trafficking, just like the SDGs. So the world under the UN will be coming together with a policy document that will be binding on member states, whether you're a country of origin, transit, or destination. So it's getting world attention, deservedly so. But we as Nigeria must ensure that we talk to our youth, we continue to talk to them, campaign that is not worth it. Yes, government must do its job, which is provide jobs and all that, which is with this administration is doing. In fact, about 3 of them that were willing have enrolled with the Empower program. Some are being encouraged to go into agriculture. Some are getting into some small-scale SMEs with the Bank of Interest. So there are opportunities, and let's let our youth know that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abike Dabiri, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fola.
Yeah. Back to base. Now we have some sort of background to the conversation we want to have today, which at the end of the day is going to be about, you heard her talk about irregular immigrants and irregular immigration. That's all about, you know, doing those things, but outside of the guidelines. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back, and then we'll continue this conversation in studio and, of course, as always, with you at home through the phone. Stay with us. Okay, so welcome back then, and you know, we opened up the program by setting the background. We were able to speak with Honorable Abike Dabiri, Special Assistant to the President on, you know, diaspora matters, and you know, you could hear, she was concerned about what she referred to as the irregular migration that has led to this sort of thing. Well, my guest this morning is Mr. Ahmed Abbas. Mr. Abbas is a legal practitioner and political affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you listened to that conversation which Abike Dabiri graciously granted us earlier. In fact, she said she was actually having to nip into the villa, but getting the phone call, she came back out again. And so how serious do you think this matter is? Because it certainly is very, very serious to those of us that just hear about these matters, that these are our daughters that brave all these odds, horrible conditions, and then all of this happens, and oftentimes it becomes a worthless exercise. You heard Abike Dabiri there speak about the whole thing is not worth it if only our young ladies would buy into that line of thinking. But what? The desperation, right? Our people, it's the desperation that sort of make our people flick away those concerns. What do you think?
Thank you. I think the issue at stake is it's a tragedy, a human tragedy. But the question we must be asking ourselves at this point in time is, why are the girls, our boys, so desperate?
Yes.
That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Because it's not just something happening today. It has been a recurring decimal. It's been going on for decades. So we must ask ourselves as a people, why our young men and women, able-bodied men, who should be contributing their quota to the development of our society and our nation, opt out for uncertainties, even when they know death.
It's a very dangerous, highly dangerous.
They are aware, but they are willing to pay the risk, face the risk and the odds, simply because sometimes they don't have anything to inspire them back at home.
So what you're claiming, what you're saying here, I would sort of impute into your utterances is that, quite frankly, people are just hopeless.
Absolutely.
And next to hopelessness,
absolutely,
any old idea looks, you know, tolerable.
Yes, because,
if not good.
Because you see,
next to hopelessness.
Yes, because you see, as human beings, sometimes if you look at, it's like a marriage. A lady grows in her father's house and her mother's house with love and care. You write an application, you bring her to your house. Don't forget that she has a memory of where she's coming from. If you give her a better environment, she has no reason to look back. But if you create an environment where she has to make comparison, between where she's coming from and where she is today. Sometimes that is what leads to divorce. People simply make comparison. Say, look, my life is better off when I was here.
Yes.
You promised me a better life. Now I'm here, and things are worse. Things are not looking bright at all. So these young men and women, simply because, look, when you take hope, why do you think people become desperate to commit suicide and engage in suicide bombing? It's simply because they do not see any ray of hope.
And that's the problem, because maybe, I think Abike Dabiri was speaking about a need that, look, some of them when they come home, they need to get their stories, and some state governments, and she did stress that it's not an Edo state government thing at all.
No.
But governments should somehow be more active in getting these stories out. But I don't know, because it's a very, very human thing. Some people you will explain a thing to and they can immediately see it, but this desperation, Abike Dabiri herself touched on it. Say, look, before you go there, we know it's the job of the government to provide jobs, to provide hope and all of that. But there's something about the people themselves, the self-preservation instinct. How is it lacking? Because how will you go route yourself through Libya, as they say, and go halfway across the desert, catch, a boat, if you want to dignify it by calling it a boat, because, there's no guarantee that you're going to come out of it alive. So doing all these things that actually you have more than a 50% chance of not coming out of it alive, but there still are takers. I guess that's where the problem is, that perhaps this is what we need to investigate. Say, why are people, apart from desperation, which is the only answer we seem to see, throwing themselves against the doors of death, so to speak? Those that, sorry. Well, Reverend Dominic wants to join this conversation. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in. Hope you've been with us from the beginning.
There's some few second delay, so I can let me shoot on. Okay, Yori, let me take it from this angle. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let me take it from this angle. Let's leave government out of it. But let's go to the parents. So I have an experience 2 years ago. I don't want to jeopardize the identity of this young lady. Yeah, I went to Milverton police station in Ireland.
Okay.
And they deport this young lady a few years ago. So I have to engage in a young one, which is about 15 or 16. And when I engaged this lady, she told me a terrible story. That her mother took her to somebody, a young boy, to disvirgin her so he can go on that journey. That is the hard way to do it. So I took her as a pastor. We tried to put her together. We tried to educate her. We tried to give her a job. That lady is doing well in Nigeria today. Let me say this. Most of the challenges is the parents who want to make money through this young child. And let me be frank to you, if you can be true to be told. If you go to the geographic, we what to call the old Bendel, it's more common than any other state in Nigeria. We must educate our parents. That journey is not worth it. That kind of illicit money is not worth it. Number two, Yori, could you watch the burial of strangers in Italy? Look at how we still treat people that do not know. Do you know how to treat our own people here? That's the issue. Some people say, let me go and die here and preach well. Just stay in my own nation. Even though while you are alive, you have a good job, you have a good certificate, we treat you like a stranger. The issue is condition, but we must talk to our parents. Please, God bless you.
Well, Reverend Dominic, thank you for calling in. Yes.
I subscribe partly to Reverend Dominic's opinion. Parents also have a role to play in being able to educate and encourage their children to remain here, acquire relevant skill, get a training, offer services, produce goods, and make money. Because ultimately, they are in search of greener pasture, in search of economic opportunities.
Yes.
And I often tell people, except you have a skill to to trade, except you have service to render. Your prayer for money will never come true. I have a young man that lived several years in Abuja for over 8 years. He was running helter-skelter looking for a contract.
Okay.
So anytime I go to Abuja...
Because that's why he went.
Yes.
In the first place.
8 years.
Abuja is that kind of a place.
He will
go
call,
to Abuja.
He will call me from Lagos. He said, bros, I need some assistance. I'll send him money. But anytime I go to Abuja, I say, look, you were into cocoa buying. Go back to Edo State. Go back. That's the skill. That's the trade you have known. Looking for contract is chasing the wind. 8 years. Lived, wasted 8 years in Abuja, running from one ministry to the other, looking for contracts. I told him, I said, you are chasing after wind. Go back. He listened to my voice. He listened to my advice, went back to Edo. Sir, as I speak with you, within a space of 2 years, he lived in a rented apartment in Abuja, but he went back to Edo State. One village in Edo State was able to buy a property back in Abuja and is building a house in Abuja. Has built almost about 2-3 houses in Edo. So, we must encourage parents, first and foremost, to tell their wards to get a skill, learn a trade, acquire education, and offer services or produce goods in exchange for money. Because if you don't have any of this, chasing after money is like chasing after the wind. Be that as it may, on the side of the parents, we must also tell ourselves the truth.
Okay.
Why will your young population seek migration constantly?
Okay. You know what? This is one of the things that perhaps we have on the line Genevieve Modi. Genevieve Modi is, she's SSA to the governor in Delta State on international affairs and is waiting to join the conversation. Good morning, Genevieve.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Thank you very much for calling us. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was listening to the program, and I'm happy the government is talking about the 26 girls. Delta State has actually been very, very interactive, you know, and tried to, you know, bring programs to keep youth very active.
Yes.
Like one of the callers said, the training has to come from the parents. We are doing that here. Not only are we doing that, we are empowering parents now. There's a massive empowerment drive to empower parents, especially the mothers. Because once mothers have money, they are not going to push their children to do this. The push is mostly from the parents. There are programs like youth agricultural programs here in Delta State. There are skills training programs here in Delta State where the Governor Okowa, has given youth not just training, but even incentives such as cash payments, providing everything they need to start up businesses.
Okay.
But we still have Deltans doing, you know, some Deltans undergoing these dangerous streets. I think it has to start with the parents. And I think it has to also be a problem, you know, an issue pastors and imams, the clerics, should take up and preach in church. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Genevieve. Genevieve speaking with us there. She's Genevieve Modi, Special SSA to the Governor of Delta State on International Affairs. You know, you seem very, very happy.
No, I'm excited because, you see, like, she informed the public now that the government is being creative in Delta State. Look, most times when problems crop up in a society, you must sit down to find out why is this problem like this. Like I told you, sir. And
she has gone back to the source and said, look, the parents, the parents, the homes, the houses, the homes that the families that these girls came out of have a crucial role to play.
Yes. See, let me tell you, we must not somehow, in tracing where those parents, some of those young men were also pushed because of their desire.
Young men and women.
Women to seek greener pasture to be able to help the poor background they are coming from.
Okay.
because it can be very traumatizing when you are born into poverty, raised in poverty, and at 25, 30 years old,
yes,
you are still living in abject poverty.
Yes.
Your parents are poor,
and
you are not seeing any economic opportunity to tap into. The desire...
You know, I'm going to come back to this very, very point that you make. I've got
Yes.
to go on a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back and continue with this, I think, very important conversation. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at this troubling subject matter, the irregular migration of young Nigerians mostly. I don't think exclusively, but mostly young Nigerians. We spoke to Honorable Abike Dabiri at the top of the program, SSA to the President on diaspora affairs. And we've also spoken with Genevieve Modi, who has graciously called in to enlighten us about the efforts of the Delta State government on this whole matter, because she is SSA to the governor of Delta State on international affairs and has told us some of the things that creative ways Delta State is getting involved. And our guest in studio is Mr. Ahmed Abbas. And you were saying just before we went on break that, look, with the best intentions in the world, there still is the whole matter of the youngsters that we're dealing with and their worldview, their perceptions, never mind that, as I said, it's perceptions, the fact might be something else. And you know what you said just reminded, you said that they might feel that they need to do their bit, no matter how irregular that bit is, to help the family. And unfortunately, there will be some people who have seen that happen and the family is helped. You know, my mind just went to America, especially with work with black people in America on the hip-hop side of town. And even though they're all multi-millionaires by now in dollars, very, very few of them don't have stories of gang banging, selling drugs when they were 11, 12, 13 years old. Of course, they've come out of that life. But very, very few of them miss the story that, look, there was nothing else to do. That was the way to come out of the projects, the ghettos. Now, I'm not saying it's quite the same, but you see these girls saying that, perhaps thinking, as you have said, that, look, no matter what daddy is saying, no matter what mommy is saying, I know a way to help the abject poverty that we have. That's a problem. And that's the kind of thing that Genevieve Modi was telling us that the government has to sort of work to counteract.
There are parents who are even aware of the dangers. Some are ignorant of the challenges. All they are told is that if your daughter or your son migrate outside the shores of Nigeria, he will have a better life and come back to take care of you. There is no poor parent. There is no poor parent.
And that idea is so
there's no
50s.
There's no poor parent that will hear that, oh, if my son is able to get to Malta or Italy, he will do better and take care of me. Because the honest truth, sir, there's tangible poverty in the land. A situation where over 80% of our people are living below poverty line. In spite of the resources that we have received on behalf of the entire populace. If our people are still living below poverty line, challenges like that, like this, will keep reoccurring. Though, I'm not giving excuse. I'm not making excuse for parents who deliberately, or young men and women who deliberately,
yes, I understand you,
decide to take the risk, even engaging in prostitution, drug trafficking, and all the rest of them. But we must address the fundamental issue.
Okay. Well, Abe in Johannesburg, South Africa, apologies for keeping you waiting this while.
That's fine, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to the guests in the house.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, first and foremost, I sympathize with those people that lost their life because they are looking for greener pasture. To go to hear such a story. Nevertheless, I think the kind of cultural background we came from Nigeria puts a lot of pressure on us, the young ones. Let me give you a very typical example, sir. For example, you have a neighbor who his son or a daughter travel out of the country after 1-2 years, came back, started building a house. Already, there is a pressure on the other guy or the other lady who doesn't have opportunity of leaving the country. And at the same time, our government also are not also encouraging us. You know, in a situation where you have young men, young women who are migrating from a particular country on daily basis, and the government of that country are not really bothered, they're not looking at anything to tackle it. It's not helping the matter. Those people who are really going out of the country, sir, they are the generation of tomorrow. They're supposed to be the brain behind tomorrow, the good day of tomorrow of Nigeria. But unfortunately, you see all of us scattering in South Africa, scattering in UK, scattering in America. How many Americans have we ever seen moving out of America coming to stay in Nigeria? So when the good brains are going out of the country, how do you want the country to progress? I think our government needs to step up to this and see how they can encourage the young ones not to allow them to leave their country for a greener pasture in another country. Yeah. And by doing that, you will see that a lot of things will change in our land. Thank you, sir, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Abe, for calling in. You know, there are two things. This whole brain drain, if you want to call it that, where there's so many Nigerians that are out of the country through migration, but shall we say call that regular migration. At least it's on record. We know who is leaving, we know where they're going, we know where they are. That's one thing, but the one that concerned the Special Assistant to the President on diaspora, and that is concerning all of us, and also Genevieve Modi has called in, is this one they are calling irregular migration. In other words, I think back in the day they used to call them stowaways. But we're not even stowing away here. It's not as if we're hiding in a ship or hiding in some wing of an airplane and going over there, which was the way it used to be then. That's not what's going on. People are actually going out with an intention, perhaps. They don't just know what they're going to do, but they have this notion that just land over there. It's like El Dorado. Things will become better, no matter how arduous, things will become better than they actually are here. Now, that's a big problem that people are thinking like that, because it seems a very, very attractive idea to a desperate and hopeless person. It doesn't matter how much you talk about the kind of things that Genevieve was talking about. If they've just gotten a hunger for, shall we say, things that just won't come by honest employment. Let's put it that way. It just won't come.
Sir, you see, there's no difference between, let me tell you, there's no difference. The philosophy behind those you call irregular immigrants and the regular immigrants, their philosophical bases are the same.
That there are greener pastures over there.
See, an educated PhD holder who decides to abandon Nigeria
He's an economic migrant.
You understand me? He also does not see. Most of them are also not satisfied with the situation back at home.
One moment. Someone else wants to join us. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Okay. This issue is as whole as the going down of Nigeria economy. Let's look at it from different perspectives. Look at the educated ones. Sometimes people will say these ones, they are not educated. It is the parents. First, our value system is bad. Just look at the scenario, the scene there, how people were treated. If these people, and we see even Nigerians that died in the coast of Nigeria, how were they buried in their home fatherland? Just look at the value system there. Look at Abike, she's talking now, she's talking like a typical politician. Don't we have an ambassador there that can, on daily basis, as soon as they heard of this incident, should be per second discussing with the authorities of the Italian government. Not to wait until another day that we buried and they will not follow the Nigerian way of coming with convoy and come and shake hands. No, it shouldn't be that way. If they have followed up seriously, there will be no gap there. Take, for instance, they are Africans and we're playing the big brother that, okay, all of them might not be Nigerians. That shouldn't be the first thing. The first thing is identify the people first. And we have doctors, educated people that leave the oceans of Nigeria and go abroad. Are we saying, are those people uneducated too?
No, that's not the problem. I think we're talking about regular or irregular migrants and how irregular migrants are so very exposed to this kind of thing.
That's my point. On clearing, first, we have no job. On your own, just to make an advert that you want to make an employment. Sorry. Hello, I cannot hear you. Okay.
Please continue.
Okay. To just make an advert that you want to employ 2 PA, make it on the daily, and see the quantity of application you will receive. Uncle Yuri, just put that advert.
Yes.
Now, the elders we have in the political system, in their days, just standard school, when they left, they will have jobs. Now there are no jobs, and they are not willing to build industries that will employ the teeming population. Even the governors, somebody called from my state, the governors that are putting this palliative something, they will put them, okay, what are your plans? How many thousands of youths you want to train in 1 year? How many local governments are you spreading it to? Look at NDDC. They will make hardback, and the directors that have the income to even take care of themselves, we hijack those processes after everything and just bring maybe 10-5 slots for the teeny populations to compete. That one will not work. We should take political sentiment out of it and take an holistic approach. Create industry. If we have industry, people will stay here and work.
Okay. Thank you very much, Raymond. Really appreciate your call. How do you relate to that? Because this is something that was, Abike in passing sort of, she did not neglect to touch upon it. Say, yeah, we know it is governments that need to provide the jobs, the infrastructure, the opportunities to be able to do something, be creative. But she seems, at the end of the day, we have this unfortunate and tragic story on our hands. 26 people die. We are saying at this moment that maybe we've identified 3 of them for sure to be Nigerian. But even going beyond all of that is where we're at now. The point that whatever the program, especially in the case of girls, and prostitution abroad being a kind of work, that's a most unedifying kind of an export. There is that whole matter to it when we're unfortunately talking about the girl child. Very few other people, very few other girls. Guys are different. Guys might just be wanting to get across to hustle one way or the other. But with girls, oftentimes their contribution might be to the oldest profession in the world, and that's a problem.
And the parents has a role to play in the issue of girls prostitution, and the government must also oil its investigative responsibilities.
And the parents, because these girls often can't act on their own. They act through what do they call them? Agents or whatever they are.
Yeah, they have agents and sponsors and things like that. So the government. I beg your pardon. I'm being signaled that there's another caller on the line. I beg your pardon. Good morning, and thank you for calling.
Good morning,
Yakub, it's you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Abbas.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it Shivori? This of burial they give to Nigerian citizens that die because of being tried to cross over to another country. It is only Nigerian that this kind of a thing can happen to. Let me give you a simple example. Do you think, for example, the U.S. citizen got to die in a Nigerian territory, like maybe 4 or 2 of them die, and then Nigeria giving them a burial without the consent of the U.S. government? Can that one happen? It cannot happen. They did that one to us because they know nothing will happen because we don't follow our citizens. If we follow our citizens and then they die, and then other countries give them a burial without your consent, and then they know there is nothing going to happen, which is very, very bad. In fact, in the Nigerians, if Nigerian as a Nigerian die in his own country, some people somewhere will give him a burial, nothing will happen. That is why another country can do that one to us, and then they suffering. How could it? There is a lot of things to that. If there is not a lot of things, how could you bury somebody's citizen without that person's consent? And then you know that there's nothing going to happen. I think the Nigerian government should pick it up and then follow it to the end. Thank you and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much.
See, you know, I think, let me be very, very frank with you. The leadership of our country over the years, not necessarily this administration, must apologize to Nigerians.
I beg your pardon. I've got to go on a break. So sorry about this. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Irregular migration and the pitfalls, what we're looking at, and we're getting opinions, both private and official. And Mazi Okoroafo is waiting to join the conversation. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning, Mr. Abbas.
Good morning,
Sayori.
sir.
What Nigerian government is doing now is medicine after death.
Okay.
Since 2 weeks ago, why didn't the Foreign Affairs and NAFTA take action? Why now? You see, this is medicine after death. And the 6 years of the Federation and Abuja government should engage.
But Mazi, is it now? It's not, when you say why now, we've been on this story, remember, for a while. A Nigerian was surprised, shall we say.
About the variant. Because if you listen, if you follow French TV, and even your station, and even BBC and CNN, you see they have been using this issue, or this issue of Nigerian immigrants. And every day when you watch television, you see what is happening. What you saw now is just a minor thing. What happened last time, 2-3 months ago, where over 400 people, you see the way they were, and started asking myself, why are people rushing to Europe? You see, our honorable members, where are they? And they know exactly what they're supposed to do to stop all this problem. If they use their money, which they collect excess money they bank in their account, and engage the youth in skills acquisition, it's not what the SSA from Beta State said. What they're going on. What happens to senators, even the state house assembly members, what are they doing? Even the local government. We should stop blaming one decision. Look, no matter what the Nigerian government will happen to do in Italy and come back to Nigeria, you cannot stop illegal movement from this country because Nigeria, 80% or 70% of Nigeria, they are taking money. They want money at all costs. Nobody wants to pay down and follow the normal sequence. Now, Mr. Yori, go down and establish a small company. Employ somebody, so, okay, look, I'll be paying you 20,000. You look at that, what am I going to do with 20,000? What am I going to do? That is the problem Nigeria is facing because we keep money first, not to talk about the type of output. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day, Indigo.
Thank you, Mazi, for calling in. What are we... let's face it, when the situation is the way it is, young Nigerians, mostly even any Nigerian almost, but especially young Nigerians, are going to be looking to help themselves. So a lot depends on what their own concept of helping oneself means. Too many, unfortunately, even if it is no more than 2 and 3, and it certainly is a lot more than that, too many are taking this what is referred to as irregular migration routes, complete fraught with all its dangers?
I think over the years, the challenge we have is that we've not had inspirational leaders who can inspire, hope and confidence in people. Governing is one thing, but being able to inspire, the youth and the younger elements is another different thing entirely. So there is the disconnect between the government, the leaders, and those that they're actually governing. If you look at the youths you are talking about now who are migrating, the boys and the girls, I tell you, they are not different from the professionals who also migrated. The only difference is that they don't have the means.
Yes, yes.
Of passing through what we call regular route.
Regular route.
Yeah, the only
one moment, please.
Yes.
I understand that point. I think the name is Pirogogo from Wari in Delta State. Hope I didn't murder that name. Good morning. Oh, dear. Wari in Delta State. Good morning. Aha. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
All right. Yes. Good morning to your guest, Mr. Abbas, as well.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the security on our waterways.
Okay. Very briefly, please. We've almost run out of time. Be brief.
Okay. All these years, people have been migrating out of Nigeria. What has the government been doing to secure the waterways? Because most of the time, people are going through illegal means to get out of the country. And this has been going on for years and years on. The government by now should be thinking of securing all those areas to block people from leaving the country illegally. But because the place is always porous, people keep attempting to go, and when they go, they meet all sorts of hazards.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry to rush you. I must. I've completely run out of time. But I take the point you've made. Thank you very much. As I said, we've almost run out of time now. He's bringing up that idea of security. Interestingly, there was a story by, yesterday I saw a story, and our Navy boys are explaining how they're actually making great strides in that. I saw many locally made boats and that kind of a thing. But that's a different thing. Because I don't think they enter the waters from Nigeria. That's not where it's at. No. They make their way across land borders and then connect elsewhere. But the point that you have made consistently is that until we have a creative leadership that is able to do something about employment and opportunities.
The entire immigration saga stems from economic poverty.
And really, because we've run out of time, if that's all you had the chance to say, let it be there, that it's all economic poverty. Because there are all sorts of people abroad, Nigerians abroad, they're economic migrants.
All of them, including
migrants.
You can't say our doctors, professors who are migrating. Are you telling me that they are not responsible, or that they were not properly brought up and things like that?
No.
The system is not working, and it's not expanding at the rate it should expand.
And most Nigerians abroad are there because they can't afford to live in Nigeria, quite frankly. They just don't know how to make it in Nigeria. And they're keying into the whole structure, infrastructure over there.
We say we spend close to 75% of our annual budget on recurrent expenditure. Over how many number? What's the population of these people? So except you expand the economic base for people to be able to take advantage of the opportunity existing within Nigeria, you keep having problem of people seeking economic migration.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Abbas, for sharing your perspectives with us. And indeed, you as well for contributing. And especially also for those two official figures, Abike Dabiri and Genevieve Modi, that weighed in on the matter. Thank you very much. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program at 10:30 in the morning. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.